What is up, guys? Welcome back to Wild Rift University, and we have a great game for you. I'm Thing One, and today we're going to be diving into a game with my friend Rengar Boy. He's the Garen. If you're not familiar with who Rengar Boy is, well, he's been Challenger, and he was even a Legend this season. So he pulled up one of his videos for me to kind of analyze for him and break down. And so we're going to dive into this. If you don't know who he is, once again, really solid guy, really good player. He was also Challenger on PC and played in school. So he definitely understands the game, how to play it. He's been playing it for a really long time. But he also, just so you know, he filled his way all the way up to Legend in Legendary Queue. And then, like I said, he can play all roles. I believe he plays jungle, ADC, and support at a challenger level in his opinion. But everything else he says he can definitely play at a grandmaster for sure. So let's kind of break down this matchup and everything real fast and what we're looking at. So his team, he's got a Twisted Fate, a Camille, a Vayne, and a Brand. You can just assume, since this is high elo for Legend Queue, basically all these players are probably challengers, high grandmaster players, either this season or last season. Okay, so Twisted Fate, Camille, Garen, Vayne, Brand versus a Malphite, Xin Zhao, Kale, Misfortune, Pyke. Okay, so really interesting matchup. So early game, the way I look, and I'm gonna give you all my first thoughts just from looking at this game. So early game, I would expect red team to win. And this is basically why. So Xin Zhao is definitely stronger than Camille. Early game, Misfortune is way stronger than Vayne early game. Pyke, even though Brand is going to be really strong early game with his poke, he doesn't really come online until like mid to late game either, because he is a late game champion because he's so mana hungry. So if you bait out his abilities, he's not going to do super well. And then top lane, Garen would be stronger than Malphite if played correctly, which I'll kind of break that down as well. I said these are going to be all my first thoughts of the game, and we're going to kind of break down what he did well, what he could have had, or what opportunities he had that could have maybe helped him be even more successful. But he told me this is a really exciting game. Lots of back and forth. They were kind of far behind. All lanes were losing. He was really the only lane winning. So this video will help you learn how to carry your team maybe as a top laner when all your lanes are losing. So let's go ahead, dive in, and analyze and break this video. So it's going to be exciting. If you guys haven't watched my videos before, please like, subscribe to the channel. I said I'm Thing One, making videos all the time. So let's kind of talk about this matchup. So Garen versus Malphite. Kind of what I'm going to want to see here is, so Garen can beat Malphite, however, if played correctly is what I said. So in order for him to actually win this lane, what he's going to have to do is actually be aggressive. So a lot of people are always really scared of Malphite because he can be a lane bully. He can just poke, he gets the speed boost and moves away. So, and he also has the shield. So if Garen isn't aggressive towards Malphite, basically what will happen is exactly what I just said. Malphite's gonna poke him and then back up after Garen hits him and then shield back up. Garen needs to constantly be putting pressure on the Malphite in order to keep him low. If he plays the shield regen game, the shield regen game, the shield regen game, then Malphite will win lane. So I definitely want to see him be aggressive. One thing I also kind of liked that he didn't run to lane and put ward right away. So he's versing a Xin Zhao, who is a early game jungler. So you do want to have the ward down fairly soon, but not too soon, because realistically Xin Zhao can't even really gank, like truly even gank, until almost like a minute 20 seconds. Because that's about how long it takes to clear 2 camps as well. So this is really good. So far, he's being super aggressive on the Malphite. He's keeping him pushed to the tower. Now, the fact that he is kind of pushed up and he's going against Xin Zhao hasn't actually showed up on the map yet. What I would like to see is him actually put a ward down like in the river right next to like the tri-bush or in the tri-bush so he could see if he's coming. I prefer it like in the water towards the tri-bush area. Reason being is because then you can see him if he exits through to the river, or if he comes up from the middle of the river. Actually, so I'm going to pause real quick. So right now, as you, let me actually just rewind a tiny bit real fast, so we can break this down. Okay, so right now he's doing everything. He's doing everything really right. He has good pressure on the Malphite as well, and sorry, excuse me. He's got good pressure on the Malphite, putting lots of damage on him. And so now, look right here. This right here is a really good idea of representation of map awareness. And the reason why I kind of rewind, so right now you can see the jungler bot lane, okay? So even though he should have warded and he didn't, it's okay. Because this play that he's doing right now, this in the wrong circumstance is a horrible play, but it's also in this circumstance a right play. But also this is a really good play that I see a lot of players not do. So what am I talking about right here? He has minions under the tower, and he's going to attack the tower. So often, players are so scared to go under the tower and attack. You're a Garen versus a Malphite. The Malphite isn't going to burst you under tower, okay? He's going to hit you, maybe hurt you a little bit. Really, he's probably just going to keep trying to clear his minions. You can get some early tower damage, and then he's also got the tower busting rune. So getting some early hits on that's really good. And the reason he's able to do this is because he saw the jungler bot lane. If he didn't see the jungler bot lane, and if he would have done this without having a ward down, horrible idea. Now, I don't agree with him not having a ward down by a minute 20, a minute 30. He definitely should have had a ward down by then, especially versus Inzao, and especially because he's playing aggressive because he knows he's beating this Malphite. But because he did, even though he didn't put it down there, it's fine. He was kind of halfway through the lane. As soon as he saw, he started being more aggressive. So I do really like that. He gets the full hits on and right here. Now he's fighting a Malphite, gets an ignite off. Boom, 3 kill. So most players would not do what he did right there. Most players would just let the turret sit or let the minions sit under tower. But he's showing like understanding of how to like really take dominance over the lane. Okay, here, yes, good. I was about to say he should be backing because now's a great time to back because the wave's basically going to fully reset if he backs. Well, not fully reset. He probably should have finished clearing the wave before he backed actually, now that looking at the wave. But also, you know, honestly, not a terrible thing. Let's also look at his items here real quick and kind of look at the game. So gold is tied. Miss Fortune has a kill, which is kind of expected, like I said, because she's early game stronger. Pike has 2 kills. So this is actually kind of like the worst case scenario for them. They're 2 like early game / late. I mean, Pike can kind of be an early, mid game, late game champion, depending on how you look at them. They're getting fed, and that's really bad for them because the red team has really strong early game. They have really good team fight. And the blue team does have really good late game as well, but their win condition is a little bit more difficult, okay? Their win condition is based primarily off of map placement, okay? They have to have very good positioning to win team fights, whereas the red team doesn't have to be as particular with positioning because they have the Malphite, they have the Xin Zhao that are really good dive-in initiating champions. Garen's a good dive-in initiating champion as well, but the Xin Zhao can peel off Garen fairly well. Like, their tanks do a better job at peeling than the blue team's tanks. So their initiation's a little better. Like, blue team does have some disengage, but their disengage basically comes from their carries, primarily through, like, TF, the Brand Stun, the Vayne Condemn. Camille can use abilities to stop them as well, but it's a little bit more difficult, where red team's CC is a little bit easier. So they win. They're going to have to win team fights by positioning. So they're behind right now, and they do have to be careful. So right here, once again, we have the ward down, which is really huge. He's being super aggressive. I like the fact that he's being aggressive because he's winning lane pretty hard. This Malphite doesn't seem like he understands how to fight against the Garen, and he has a whole level lead on him. So one thing right here, so he probably could have just went all in on the Malphite as the wave was pushing up, but by not doing that, what he's doing is he's creating a better kill factor for himself, okay? Because he's a level up. If he would have just pushed the wave to keep it right under tower, Malphite would have been right next to the tower. It would have been much harder to kill him, but because, or at least damage him to make him leave lane, because he allowed the lane to push up, now he's in a position where he can bull him out of lane, either freeze the lane or try and go in for a kill. And it looks like, okay, he's just clearing the wave. So now he's got way more damage though on him. Now Kale's got a kill, which is also one of the worst things. Kale just got a double kill. He's literally probably the worst champ in this whole game to get kills. But so look at this. So because he allowed the wave to push up, because as you noticed before, a lot of the other waves, he just immediately cleared them. So why did he do it why didn't he immediately clear the wave and keep it pushed? So my opinion as to why he would do this versus all the other time, Malphite being a tanky champion, as he's starting to rank up, he gets harder and harder to kill. By allowing him to push up, it allowed him to engage, basically get down most of his health, and Garen's going to naturally regen health, whereas Malphite really isn't. So it's giving him a bigger advantage here. Gets a nice little auto attack in between the turret shots. That's another thing that you'll see. I see a lot of players not do, so let's do it. Just a quick little rewind right there. You don't see players do this very often right here. So you can get an auto attack in on a champion in between the tower shots. So see, he attacked him as the tower shot went off, okay? That allowed him to get more damage and then just do a quick or that's S1, S3, or S4 in case you don't know. Now he's getting good damage on the tower as well. Okay, yeah, here I was like saying, I'd like to see him probably back right here, continue to increase his gold lead. He's got a pretty good lead. This was actually, he did a good job this time. He got the wave to actually reset, whereas last time he didn't. And he's going Hullbreaker, Boots, and Longsword. Okay, so right now you're looking, the gold difference is about 1,000 gold difference. Kale now has about 3 kills is what it looks like. Let's take a look. Oh, perfect, he pulled it up. Kale's 3-1 and 2, Pike's 2-1 and 5, Misfortune's 1 and 0, Zinzao's. So his whole team, other than his TF, is doing pretty bad. And this is really hard because basically the hyper carry on their team is pretty fed, and then their second like hyper carry, which would be Pike, is also getting fed. Okay, and when they have basically 3 squishies on their team, so Kale can shred Garen late game. Kale can shred everybody late game. Everybody knows that. So now he's got to kind of have a decision making right here. He's clearly the strongest person on his team and technically the strongest person in the game if you look at gold. Not by much, but because Kale's such a late game champion, he's by far the strongest, and he's got a fully completed item as well. So he's by far the strongest person in the game. What I would like to see him actually do right now is just still continue lane dominance and everything. Try and get this first tower. Now, it is a little risky though, because as you can see, Dragon is coming up, and Rift Herald as well. So one thing that you could probably consider in a game like this is good. So he put down the ward. Let me actually talk about this. So this is a little high elo thing. I'm not saying this is what he was trying to do, but for some of you other laners, top laners, this is something that you can actually try, is trying to entice the laner to back. You can make them think you left lane by like running away and pausing for a little while. So he sees him backing, he's trying to run away. I'm not saying that that's what he's doing. I was just saying in general, that's something that you can do. You'd want to stay away a little bit longer. So as you can see, the Malphite back, the whole enemy team's there. His team way out of position. So I'm sure there was probably some texting saying, hey, come. He's probably maybe telling his team, no, he's going to stay top. His team definitely should have been at Dragon already. So this is a pretty big throw. Being that his team didn't rotate early, staying top isn't a terrible thing. Also, I don't necessarily disagree with him staying top either, simply because first tower gold is way better than Water Dragon. Water Dragon's really not that good. I give up Water Dragon for first tower or Rift Herald all the time. Much rather have that. Now, he did get super lucky that his jungler stole it. And Water Dragon on Garen is pretty solid because his lifesteal is pretty ridiculous. Or I mean, not his lifesteal, sorry, his health regen is pretty great. But, you know, if they wouldn't have gotten Water Dragon, but they got first tower, it's definitely worth. And it looks like he's also going to get rid. So I think this is a good play. Also, the reason why I think it's a good play as well is they're probably not going to win a team fight really 5v5 this early because of the early game champions that the enemy team has and how late game their team is. Like, Twisted Fate is a hyper late game carry. So is Vayne. Like, Twisted Fate basically needs to have like almost 4 items before he's good. Vayne needs to have about 3 to 4 items before she's good. Brand needs about 3 or 4 items before he's good. And then Camille's pretty solid all game. Garen's basically solid all game as well. Now, okay, let's kind of break this down. So he's got the Rift Herald. I like that he backed and bought more items and everything. As well, he's got Phage and what is that? Ruby Crystal. I can't remember what the name of that item is. So he's still kind of going tanky bruiser, which I like. So I don't think going mid lane for him was wrong because by going mid lane, he's opening up the map more, making it easier for his team to rotate, which is very important when you're behind. Now, one thing that I would possibly consider, what I really like to do when I have Rift, I love opening up the top side of the map as much as possible. Because basically what that does is if you can get the top side of the map broken first, it makes contesting dragons almost impossible. And in a game like this where they have a Kayle, where the Kale's getting fed, the Misfortune's getting fed, the Pyke's getting fed, the Xin Zhao's getting fed, everyone on their team is getting fed except the Malphite. Having one side of the map to keep them separated, especially when they're a team, their comp is more team fight orientated than it is really pick orientated. It will make securing objectives, which they will need to win this game, pretty big, especially when they're falling behind. The other thing I will say, though, that they're doing well is it's really the Garen, but the Garen's farming so well, he's keeping them close in gold. The only other reason why maybe not going top is the greatest idea. We don't really know where the enemy is either. So it's not the worst idea. Also, like I said, when your team's behind, the more you have the map open, the easier it is for your team to rotate, move around, and push them. So I think either one is acceptable. Either one is good as well. I love that he immediately pushed back to top. So as you can see, he's constantly trying to push his lead. He's objective after objective after objective. If he gets a kill, he's looking for the next thing to do in order to keep himself like moving in the game. Black Cleaver. Black Cleaver overall is, it's super solid item on Garen as well. Don't think I have any issue with that. He could have finished his boots maybe a little bit earlier. He didn't necessarily have to because he's Garen. He's already super fast. But winning team fights and everything is really, and just winning fights in general is really contingent on him and the way he moves around the map. His team can't really do anything with him without him being there. So having the extra movement speed isn't necessarily a horrible thing. But however, because his team's so far behind, having the extra damage is pretty huge as well. And Garen's already naturally pretty fast. I definitely did a good job at rotating, calling off the TF. TF doesn't really need to be with Garen right now. He needs to keep pushing lane alone. Absolutely pointless Malphite power play. So this, I don't know what this Malphite was thinking.
Ally slain.
Here, so normally I'd say like this is a little too aggressive, but I understand why he's being so aggressive. He saw a bunch of them bot lane, so he probably thought this was a 1v1, and then the Pike randomly showed up. He did a really good job at turning a oh crap situation into, well, at least a 1-for-1 trade. But the thing he could have potentially considered is, okay, there's technically only 3 of them on the map. I'm all the way down here by myself. Where's the Pike? And I'm worth shutdown gold. So that's one thing that I feel like he kind of overstayed a little bit there. And I get why he did. There was 3 people showing on the map. He knows he's way, way stronger. But when he took as much damage as he did and everything, once you start to get like really, really fed, one of the things that you kind of need to like focus on is staying alive, not dying, because giving shutdown goal is the best way to keep a team in the game or get a team ahead or back into the game. Good. Here, okay, this right here was really big. As soon as he saw them, he saw 2 of them, and he was on the pink ward, should have backed up right away. Immediately should have backed up. Because his whole team's bot lane. He saw 2 of them by himself. He just got killed by 2. Definitely, you know, the push-up was fine because he's trying to use, you know, he's trying to use his solo game strength, utilize his items proficiently, okay? But as soon as he saw the 2, he definitely should have backed up there. I think kind of like right now, it happens a lot of times when kids are carrying games. They're like, oh wow, I'm so strong, and they just go in. Right here. Okay, so the Camille went in way, way too early, and I know what the Camille's thinking. She's thinking like, hey, we got to try and stop this. We're far behind. We need to try and get back in the game. But she went in way too early. Like, you had to wait for the Garen to get in there, and right now, so like, as you look at this, like right now, it's kind of just throwing. Now, luckily for them, the TF, it looks like, is kind of going off, making some pretty solid plays, blowing people up. So the Vayne gets there late, cleans up. But, you know, if they would have worked together as a team, waited, they probably could have gotten all that and not even died. Also, it's also kind of the Garen's fault, or not the Garen's fault, the Vayne's fault for not being there on time. And so right here, TF should definitely have been with them at the dragon. Definitely, I think it was good to just go right in on the dragon right away. So here, okay, he did the right thing right here. So as soon as he killed the Misfortune carry, he turned around and got back to his team, which is definitely the right thing. Trying to protect, who is that? That's, is that Brand? Yeah, he's trying to protect Brand, which is really great. So right here, he kind of like starts like second guessing himself. He's like, no in, no out a little bit, but here, let's just rewind that fight a tiny bit. Okay. So yep, right here, this is good. Going right on the Misfortune, killing her. He should be backing off right away after he killed her to get right onto the ADC, which is good. Okay, so like not really his fault. He kind of did all he could have. You know, he could have gotten back a tiny bit faster, but realistically, like not really too much he could have done there. Honestly, a lot of that fight was more so the Twisted Fate's fault. Why he was split pushing when his ult wasn't fully up yet is beyond me. The Twisted Fate should have been there. Now, killing the Misfortune, I think, was great. The other thing that you could have possibly considered was killing the champions on top of your carries first. But also, I get killing the carry first. But that's something that you could also consider. I mean, you have to kind of weigh the game out. Who's the biggest threat? Who's the most important person to carry? I think sometimes when people are fed, they focus primarily on just like getting a kill and getting kills, which is kind of the exact same thing. But what they don't focus on is like a player will get fed, he'll see somebody he can kill, he'll go and kill them right away, okay? And that's good to get that kill. But by getting that kill, basically what happened is his two of his champions basically just got collapsed on in the river, and they didn't really have anyone to back him up because he's basically the strongest one on the team. Like, none of his teammates can really do anything without him being there. So it is the right play by going to kill the Misfortune. Maybe the play could have been possibly a little bit better if it was like backing up the team so that way they could kill the team as a team. But then again, like, who knows? If the Misfortune was there, would the Misfortune just peeled everybody off? So I think you could look at that either way. Here he was just unfortunately like kind of like a bad position. So like let's look at this again. So he's moving up, clearing the lane, which is actually the right decision. Okay. And he's pushing in. So he's kind of like in a really bad place. And this is one of the most annoying things when this happens, okay? You have one side of your team on one side of the map and another side of your team on the other side with the other people in the middle, okay? There's like a couple things that you can do in this situation. So what you could do is you have your tank go in, they all focus you, and then your carries come in and try and blow people up while they're all trying to blow you up, and you just tank damage. And maybe you die. The problem is with doing that this game is his carries aren't strong. His carries are pretty weak. So if he dies, they lose a lot of their damage. And so they kind of catch Garen in place. And you can kind of tell he doesn't really know exactly what to do. He's going to rush in, but I can't really rush in. There's too many of them there. But the thing is, if he actually would have committed, they were all super low. He could have got there. And now he's just kind of running back and forth. So if he would have just committed to a play versus constantly second guessing himself, he literally got nothing. But like when he went in, if he would have just trusted his tankiness and his teammates to do the damage that they were doing, they probably would have actually just like hardcore won that fight instead of kind of an even trade. Here, this is pretty funny. So like looking at this fight, I would actually think that Garen would lose, but he has what's that item, Riftmaker or whatever it's called, that gives him extra armor and magic resist. Hullbreaker, sorry. He has Hullbreaker, so the extra armor and magic resist, I think, is actually really what won that fight right there. So, okay, let's look at items real fast. So, Hullbreaker, Black Cleaver, Thornmail, 2 longswords. One thing that I think that may have been a decent buy at this time would have been some magic resist, really. I get that he's still trying to want to do more damage because he's definitely still carrying the team. The brand's starting to do pretty good as well, but like he's the reason why they're winning team fights. It's not really the brand. So I get him wanting to do more damage. I would have liked to see maybe just a little bit of magic resist. Sometimes I like to do myself is maybe just get a Spectre's Crawl, which is the green cloak or the bluish green cloak, whatever you want to call it. I can consider it green. Just the Spectre's Crawl, so that way you have a little bit of magic resist. But as long as he's doing like solo lanes, then the Hullbreaker would be enough magic resist against this team. But otherwise, yeah, a Spectre's Crawl probably right now would have been a decent buy because he's already got quite a bit of damage, and a lot of their team is all auto attacks for the most part. So his Thornmail is definitely going to add plenty of damage as well. But once again, it's not a terrible thing to do it, but the reason why I think that is because the Kale is pretty strong as well. Here I would be trying to get that top tower. Okay, so here this is kind of interesting. So right here, I think both players are actually, in a way, kind of messed up here. So one, the Camille should not have been this aggressive. There's no reason to be this aggressive, okay? I think there may be more reasons. So you know the jungler's dead. You see one mid lane, but you don't know where the other two are, okay? So I don't think you need to be this aggressive, especially against a tank. The chances of you killing him are super low. However, it turns out that the Camille is right. If the Garen probably would have went in on with him, they probably would have killed him. I do like this. So if you look back a second here, there's a split second. So right now the Malphite has no vision of the Garen. The Garen's about to go, and he goes back in while the vision's going. That way they don't know that he's there. I think that was a pretty smart move as well. So they don't know that it's a 2v1. Boom, going all in on him. The Malphite had no idea. The Malphite also this game, man, he was just really bad. Like, I don't know why he was going in so much. Here, I would actually be trying to push the top lane if I was him. Now I would probably try and help my teammate. Okay, good. He is going to help his teammate. Putting pressure on that top lane there is real pivotal. Okay, excellent. Move back to the top. And now they're starting to snowball. So you see like the gold leads moving out. They're pushing lanes pretty well, keeping pressure on multiple sides. And Garen this whole game, if you look, he's just pushing objective after objective after objective. I think some of the biggest opportunities he had was like probably warding a little bit better was good. I definitely like taking the tower here. As strong and as fed as he is, especially, there ain't no way that they're killing him. Like, Malphite's not going to do any damage. He built full tank, and then he's got Thornmail, so there's no way Pyke's going to kill him. So, easy win. A little early on that Gargoyle, and I think he should have went back in. If he would have saved his Gargoyle and actually went back in, they would have killed her. 100% would have killed her right there. Now, because all the focus on them, if he would have... So all he had to do... Look at this. Like I said, this isn't like bad... He's not playing bad or anything. There's nothing wrong with what happened. But just like getting to the next level. So right here, he's dead. But no, the Kale shows up. Boom. Pops his Gargoyle before any damage came. If he would have saved his Gargoyle and then went in as the Camille went in, he would have had the tankiness and damage, and they would have killed her for sure, because Camille basically half health there by himself, and then the Garen silence would have not allowed Kale to proc her S1, and they would have just blown her up. And the Kale probably wouldn't have even attacked. She would have just started running because it would have been 2-on-1, and she would have been silenced for like a second and a half. TF doing TF things. Brand stealing kill. Report. So as you can see, the game's basically won, but this game was really won based on correct pushing as a team. The Garen really basically pushed his team back to victory by constantly taking objectives as well. Being a frontline first team. Like I said, there was a couple times he could have been a little bit... He over-pushed at one of the Rift Heralds. He could have potentially been a little bit better of a frontline for his team at one of the Dragons. He could have warded a little bit better. And then that one fight with the Camille, he could have technically... hold on just one second here. He kind of ends the game here. It doesn't show us the stats, unfortunately. If he would have used his Gargoyle a little bit better, but I get it. He was probably worried that the Kale was about to burst him, but the Kale wasn't in range. Like I said, not a bad play. Smart play, better to be safe than sorry. But just critiquing to look at ways that you can always improve. Like I said, definitely not a bad play. Really overall, no really bad plays, I think. The one indecisive moves while in the jungle, he definitely should have committed to that move and trusted his tankiness and how far he was ahead. If he would have engaged on that, they would have won that fight in the... No, it wasn't the Dragon Pit. That was the Rift Herald, near the Rift Herald River. The one where he was just running back and forth, and ended up not getting any kills. That would have been one where I would have liked to seen some dedication and trusting how strong he was. Otherwise, I feel like all throughout the game, he really trusted his strength, knew his champion's limitations and everything. And then a little bit better warding early, for sure. He was actually super he was super vulnerable to ganks because he was playing so aggressive that game. But he was super far ahead. And then I also kind of get, like, not too many people like to gank a Garen, especially a far ahead Garen, because he's super hard to gank in general because he can negate CC with his S1. So I get being that aggressive and also like trusting yourself. But I think in the right situation where you had a good Malphite who utilizes his ult properly, and then a Xin Zhao who utilizes his knockup properly, you definitely could have killed the Garen there. And then the overstay while he was worth shutdown gold. Once again, I get it. He saw 3 bot, but he was really deep in the territory as well. So just little things. Overall, they're like super solid gameplay. But guys, hey, I hope you like this video breakdown. I hope you learned some stuff from this video breakdown as well. Definitely really, really solid gameplay. From, when you look at it, a team that has tons of hyper carries on the other team, a game that easily could have gone out of hand, but he positioned around the map, created pressure around the map in a ways to keep his team in play with gold and objectives. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching the video. Look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Like and subscribe to Wild Rift University. Peace out.